But in taking names in the portal, we got
Okay.
us a kicker.
Okay. Okay. Well, you got to have a kicker, QB.
Gotta have a kicker.
They
Gotta
can
have a
cost you a
kicker.
ball game if you don't have a kicker, right? We've seen that
Yeah.
before. I was up in Jacksonville yesterday. I saw the Jags and the Jets, watched Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams put on a second half show. It really is amazing when you see these players in person, how good they are. Adams had 200 yards receiving. Aaron Rodgers, in 4 minutes, literally brought the team from one end of the field to the other in the last 4 minutes of the game to win. I thought Mac Jones played pretty well with what he's got in Jacksonville, but my God, that's a bad team because they don't know how to win football games, and that's been the story all year. But the show that Adams and Rodgers put on in the second half was just really cool to watch. So I got to see some of that. And you know what, QB? It's amazing. When I was in Dallas and I watched the Lions beat the Cowboys a couple months ago, there was no doubt that that was the best team in the NFL and that they were going to win. But when Hutchinson went down, and then the cascade of falling players on their defensive side of the ball started falling out, the Lions are in big trouble because defensively, I don't think they're good enough to win the Super Bowl. QB Buffalo and Josh Allen are great, but that coach kicks an onside kick with 12 minutes to go in the game, down 10. That means he doesn't believe his defense can stay on can keep a team, make a team.
Well, you're not going to stop the Buffalo Bills right now. What I saw yesterday,
they're not stopping anybody.
what I saw yesterday from the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen,
I know.
it might have been one of the best performances I've ever seen in the in football, period. The plays he made,
Yeah, he's the MVP.
there's no doubt.
Tis to lose.
I've never seen guys buy time, roll out, and throw lasers
Oh
back
man,
across the field.
just
Do
play.
two
It's a
hand.
video game.
He did a two-hand he pump fake, did a two-hand chest pass for a 12-yard touchdown pass. Got called back for holding. I never seen anybody do it. He's clearly the MVP, and Buffalo is rolling right now. You know what's bad is
Yeah.
Buffalo's secondary is terrible right now. They don't have any starters back there.
Yeah, it is, and they're 2 games behind the Chiefs, I believe, or three because of the no, they win the tiebreaker, so they're 1.5 games behind the Chiefs. We'll call it that. Mahomes had a high ankle sprain yesterday, so he may not play next week. But Carson Wentz is a pro that he'll do fine with KC, and they'll probably hold on to the top seed and get that rest that they need for the playoffs. But the Bills are scary, dangerous, and Josh Allen is on a mission. I really think when I watched him play against the Rams 2 weeks ago, he was just as good then too. I mean, he's put together two incredible performances, and nobody is even close to Josh Allen. I mean, Lamar can do a lot of things, granted, but right now you have to say Josh Allen is your MVP.
No, it's there is nobody else that has a chance to win the MVP. Maybe Saquon Barkley, but Josh Allen had more rushing yards than Saquon had yesterday. He is clearly the MVP of the National Football League. QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief, no surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics.
We got bowl week this week, QB.
What's that?
It's bowl week. I mean,
when's the first bowl game?
Today?
Well, we got picks. We got to do any. How did we do on our Peachland?
Well, we were both went 3-3. You won Houston, Philly, lost the Colts, Lions, and Seahawks, but won the Navy game.
I lost the Colts.
Yeah, you took the Colts over Denver.
No.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, no, I took Denver.
I did not take the Colts. Trust me.
What I got.
Okay, we can go. Hey, these things are on tape delay.
Okay.
So you can follow. JC, why would I take the Colts?
I don't know. I was stunned too. I had Miami, Pittsburgh losers, but I won with Denver, Buffalo, and Green Bay, and I had the Army. So we got 3-3. But as I mentioned, Florida's playing football this week, folks.
Yeah, right.
The Gators are playing football. So, we've got to think about that, even though I know it's a Tulane team that is
more people interested in the basketball team than the football
I got to say, I understand it too. But tomorrow we've got the Frisco Bowl, followed by the Boca Raton Bowl, followed by the Los Angeles Bowl, followed by the New Orleans Bowl, and then the Gasparilla Bowl and the Cure Bowl. And then the CFP first-round playoff game is Friday night, QB.
Yes, indeed. Where does text go that I wanted to read?
Basketball team, yeah. I mean, that team is scary good with those guards, man. The SEC is scary good.
Walter Clayton Jr. could be the best guard we ever had here, in my opinion.
Sure, but did you see what Auburn did to Ohio State over the weekend?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just playing with these guys. The talent disparity is.
Paul says I picked Denver. See, we got people that
Uh,
even keep track, JC, of what goes on here. Speaking of the Colts, we have a text here from Bobby. Wants to know, do y'all think Anthony Richardson will make it past this year being the starter for the Colts?
I don't know why they drafted him fourth. I don't know.
Yeah, he can't play in that league. I've said it multiple times, and he was bad yesterday. It's a shame, but it's a different ball game, and you got to complete passes. If you can't throw, you can't play. I don't know how to say it.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
I mean, what he does with his legs is fine.
You can only do that a couple
Yeah.
of times in a game.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the quarterback, the definition of the quarterback is one who throws the football.
It does help. It does help. Jalen Hurts was a guy that we watched in college, and we never really thought he was a great passer. Somehow he's made it through the NFL okay, and he could have and should have maybe won a Super Bowl. But Lamar Jackson had a lot of problems early in his career throwing the football, especially in the postseason, and that's why the Ravens have lost in the postseason with Lamar Jackson. He's not the passing quarterback that all these guys think he is when they say he's the MVP. He's a great player and athlete, but passing the ball, man, I mean, that's the only way to win a Super Bowl. You can't run your way to a Super Bowl.
You're not gonna run. You have to throw the football. There's no other way to explain it. Chris from Mayak on the Titan MR text line says Josh Allen has more rushing TDs than both O.J. Simpson and Terrell Davis, both Hall of Fame backs, and he's a QB in his 20s.
What? Wow. Yeah. That's a hell of a stat. I didn't know that either. That is a crazy stat. What's amazing is nobody wanted Josh Allen out of going into college.
No.
And I don't even know how excited Buffalo fans were when they drafted him out of Wyoming, to tell you the truth. But my God, what a player! What a player! And good for the Bills. They have a chance. I mean, as long as you got a guy like that, you always have a chance. But defensively, they're going to have to play better. But I think, and that's the problem in Detroit right now. They've got bodies falling left and right, and they have a lot of issues on the defensive side. Because Jared Goff is great. He's great. But that's not enough, I don't think. You got to play defense somehow.
Yeah, for sure. I lost my train of thought.
We were
talking about the NFL. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
The Green Bay Packers, look out for them as well. So,
yeah,
JC, correct me if I'm wrong. Do the Minnesota Vikings only have 2 losses right now?
Yeah, they do, and they play Detroit in the last game of the year. Yes, they do.
Buck says Josh Allen struggled his first few years too. I think AR can become a good player. He's awful right now, though.
We'll see.
I don't think he can.
I don't think the Colts.
I've said it. He's the same player I saw and coached against in college, in high school. Yeah. He's not changed it one bit.
I don't know if the Colts can wait 3 or 4 years. Steichen invested the first pick of the draft, 4th overall, on this guy. You can't wait 3 or 4 years when you're that heavily invested in him. I don't think. But I don't think he'd last as a coach there if they keep losing and miss the playoffs. So it may not matter. But QB, the Vikings have got 2 losses. They play the Bears tonight on Monday night. Then they play the Lions on the last weekend of the season. And the Lions still have some toughies left. So it could be conceivable that Minnesota actually leads the division by the time they play, because there's still 3 games left. Can you believe there's still 3 games left? This is a very long season, and attrition definitely plays a part in it in terms of injuries. And we're seeing that. The Rams were 1-4 when they started the year, and they lost 3 players in the first game against the Lions. And since then, they've gone 7-2 because they've gotten healthy. So it really does come down to how fortunate you are health-wise in this league, specifically because of how long it is and how small the rosters are.
Yeah. Nar says, but it's okay if Allen runs.
Well, dude, I mean, what do you think?
You're comparing apples and oranges here.
What?
Because we talked about AR running the football.
But see, he doesn't.
Look, you have to complete passes, people. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, who hasn't seen Josh Allen throw a football?
Yeah.
Watching this show.
Yeah, you can't.
If you can't tell.
You're crazy as hell if you think there's any comparison.
If you can't tell how great this guy is, both running and throwing, then you're not watching something I'm watching. At least we're watching different things here, QB. I mean,
No. Mark says, how about them damn Buccaneers, man? They're playing good
Woo!
football right now.
Love that story. They went out there and just punked the Chargers. They're going to win that division because
Baker's playing outstanding
God,
football.
he is, man. And Mike Evans has kind of reemerged his Hall of Fame career. And, they lost Chris Godwin, QB. They've had injuries too. And yet these other guys, Bucky Irving, where did he go to college, QB? Where did Bucky Irving go to
Bucky
college?
Irving is either an Oregon Duck or a USC Trojan.
Is he really? Okay.
What, did you not know the answer?
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, well, I'll look it up for you then.
Okay. Well, Bucky
I
Irving.
thought you were trying to trick me.
Oh, well, I always try to trick you, but Bucky Irving it's just spectacular. I mean, the guy walked in with a plum ankle and he's playing, got 100
He is
yards.
an Oregon Duck, by the way.
Okay, there you have it, a duck. He's a duck.
I knew he was one of those guys.
Good
All
call.
right, speaking of football, let's get to this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. You can put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. 1972, the Miami Dolphins became the first undefeated NFL team on this date. They ended up the season 14-0. That will never happen again in pro football.
The 14 straight. Well, I mean,
no, to go undefeated for the entire year.
I know, but they only played 14. What, they played 16?
There's no way you can do it.
How many games did they actually end up playing that year after the playoff? Was it 16? So they went actually 16-0, the Dolphins, because they won the Super Bowl.
I think is
that right?
I think the perfect season was 14-0, I think.
Well, the perfect regular season was. I thought the Patriots also had one of those years.
Well, they were undefeated, but then they lost the Super Bowl.
That's true. That's right. They lost to the Giants. So you brought up, and I know Chris is going to touch on this, and that's his beat. So he's in deep with the basketball team. But have you seen the Gators opening SEC schedule by chance? I'm sure you'll touch on it.
Yeah, we open up with the Kentucky Wildcats there. They're good. Let me tell you something.
Not just that, though. It's just
Kentucky. I watched Kentucky play the other night. They have a bunch of transfers. Mark Pope, who's a former player, is their head coach now. They are light years better than any team Calipari had.
Is that right?
Calipari cannot coach like this dude.
Well, it was a surprise hire, but then it wasn't, because then we finally found out who he was.
The Big Blue Nation is damn
they're happy.
good.
They're happy to have him. But, it's not just the Big Blue Nation that's damn good in this league. Look at the other teams in the SEC: Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama, Ole Miss. God, it's a scary league, man. It's kind of like football. We're just going to eat each other up. We're going to swallow each other. It's tough. It's going to be very difficult in the SEC. I just wanted to pull it up. Why, for some reason, I'm having so much trouble pulling up the damn Gator basketball schedule. Jesus. But the scheduling, started with Kentucky, and then I thought, man, they really.
Well, it doesn't matter who you start with. Every team in the league is tough. There will be 12 to 13 teams make the tournament.
You think there will be 13 teams?
Possibly, yeah. Daryl says we need on the Take No More text line, we need to beat North Carolina to keep my family quiet on Tobacco Road. I think we will beat them.
Yeah. North Carolina Alabama hammered them by 20 in Chapel Hill. You can beat this team. Your guards at Florida are legit and real, probably the best they've been ever as a group. I love that Torian Green, Lee Humphrey combo they had at Florida a long time ago, but this group is so athletic. I love watching these guys play.
Christopher says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Ole Miss is killing it again in the portal. Meanwhile, Florida has signed one player, a punter.
Well, what? So Damian George is gone.
Damian George went in the portal for a day. He's back.
Oh, he's back. Okay. I read that. I said I didn't know that.
So John's trying to tell me Anthony Davis's squad. I know they won a national title.
That was tough
in Calipari's 18 years or however long he was there. I'm just telling you, Calipari can. Mark Pope coaches X's and O's all around John Calipari. John Calipari is a great recruiter, but he don't know X's and O's like Mark Pope. Trust me.
Well, let's just remember that Anthony Davis played for Tubby Smith. Okay, that was Tubby that won the national title. Okay, so the Fighting Gators at Kentucky. Then you get a home game at least with Tennessee.
Number one in America.
Then you got to play at Arkansas, never easy, but doable. Then you've got Mizzou, Texas, South Carolina, Georgia. It's maybe not as hard as I tried to make it out.
I think every one of those teams you just said are probably going to make the tournament, and South Carolina, Georgia are going to be on the bubble.
On the bubble. How about Vandy? Is Vandy is good enough to make
Probably not. They have a
Mississippi?
new
How
coach.
about Mississippi State? I think they're good enough, right?
They're pretty good. They're going to be right on the bubble as well.
And then LSU and Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah, they're probably
Okay.
not going to make it. So.
Wow. Well, it's exciting. I love watching the SEC do well in basketball. Shut the rest of the country up, man. We weren't known as a basketball league until just not long ago. We had a Final Four team, got to the final game last year in the SEC. So,
yeah, for sure. All right, text on the Titan text line from Jimmy. He says, "Were y'all surprised at all who won the Heisman Trophy?" I wasn't. I thought any other year Ashton Genty wins it going away.
yeah.
But what Travis Hunter did on both sides of the ball.
One of your friends but one of your friends told me that Travis Hunter was more about stats against lousy teams. But what he did on the field, I thought, was so rare that had to be.
Well, you talking about Genty did stuff against lousy
No,
teams?
Travis Hunter just loaded. He's just a stat guy on both sides of the field against garbage teams. That's what he said. But being on the field and playing both sides of the ball is crazy to me. That's nuts. So I'm glad for him. I mean, who the hell? I mean, good for him. I've never been a big Heisman watcher anyway. I don't really, because to me it is an individual award, but you can't do it without your teammates. You can't win anything really in football without your teammates. But it's an award. Okay, great. But I thought Shedeur Sanders. Listen, what's Colorado without Shedeur Sanders? They're not winning anything. And Ashton Genty is so rare. With what he was able to accomplish on the field, running the football. In any league, that's not easy, I wouldn't think, because you're always getting hit. So, it could have gone either way. Like you said, any other year, he would have won. Yeah.
Lauren says Anthony Davis was not with Tubby. It was with Calipari.
I thought it was Tubby. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, who did Tubby win it with?
Jamal Mashburn. I have no idea. I don't follow Kentucky basketball to know.
I'm pretty sure
what team.
Okay, well, I know Tubby won it one year, and I know that Calipari won it one year. I just can't quite put Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I'm just saying, from what I've seen, I think Mark Pope's a better coach than John Calipari. Time will tell, but from X's and O's, I think they're phenomenal. I don't know if this is true or not. Man, this is weird. This thing.
I thought it was Tubby Smith. I swear to God. Well, that's what I know about.
It doesn't matter.
I don't like to be wrong, though.
Well, if you're wrong, just admit you're wrong and move on.
I do admit I'm wrong. I absolutely do.
Yeah. Okay, JC, I don't know if we've had you on the program, but ever since it's been official with Bill Belichick, what do you think about that hire?
Yes, I think we discussed earlier about his son, Steve, and how this could be a setup for him. But I actually think, and I didn't think this at first when I first heard the rumor, neither did Tom Brady, by the way, but I actually think he's going to do well there. And I think that because of how organized and how well positioned he puts players to win football games and how he structures his organization. And North Carolina, I think, needs that. Now, listen, 72 years old, you want to go chasing around kids in the portal at 72 years old. I'm not sure about all that, but he'll have a staff to do it, and he'll evaluate. That's what he'll do. What mom and dad wouldn't want their kid to go play defense for Bill Belichick? So, and North Carolina's a great school. I mean, that's a
very good school. It's going to be it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Now, I looked at their schedule briefly. They don't play any of the hard teams in the ACC. Andy says Tubby had Jeff Shepard and Scott Padgett.
But he won it with those guys. Tubby won it.
Those guys were pretty good players.
Okay.
Jeff Shepard, I think, was the SEC Player of the Year like 2 or 3 times.
Well, don't ask me about Kentucky basketball.
Yeah.
I clearly don't know what I'm talking about. I do remember old Kentucky teams that came to Alligator Alley to face the Gators. That was always fun, watching Sam Newton and watching Joe B. Hall coach the Wildcats at Alligator Alley in front of 5,000 screaming lunatic Gator fans. Those were some days, boy. I don't think even Chris Harry can remember those days.
Chris Harry was nowhere.
He was nowhere.
He was a young lad up there rooting on Joe Gibbs and the Redskins when that was happening.
Yeah,
or maybe not even Joe Gibbs.
And the voice of the Gators was the legendary Otis Boggs, right before Mick Huber.
Electronics World Integration and Design Specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation, service, and support at electronicsworld.net. All right, let's get to the Titan MR text line.
All right.
This is from Larry. Larry says,
Go, Larry.
what is going on? Why have we not signed anyone out of the portal? We are taking too long as usual. This is not good.
What do you think, QB?
I don't worry about it. Like people, you can't do anything about it. Don't even follow it, and your life will be better. That a Dr. Phil moment right there?
Yes. Thank you for the psychotherapy. My God, that is wonderful advice. And I agree with it wholeheartedly. A lot of the guys that we really enjoyed watching, Montrell Johnson and some of these players, Eli Badger, these guys were not highly sought after in the portal. And somehow they showed up, and look how they performed for your Fighting Gators. Fighting Gators. So I'm not gonna sweat it, guys. It's gonna be all right. He's gonna have his roster. This is his team now. There's no more, someone else's guys. I'm still trying to reconcile how Dan Mullen ends up in Las Vegas of all places to coach
Yeah,
football.
that is very bizarre.
But that's where he is. And listen, I know Mississippi, Lane Kiffin. You and I have always said, and basically you more than me, that he makes it easy for players to come play for him. He always attracts highly thought of players for some reason.
Well, Oxford's a cool little town.
Yeah, it is.
And Ole Miss it's a good school. I mean, it's a good atmosphere on campus.
Yeah, it's a collegiate town. It's wonderful. Jackson Arnold signs with Auburn. What do you think of that?
He did sign with Auburn?
Yeah, he's going to Auburn. Now, I didn't think of him as a great passer necessarily.
Well, he was supposed to be a good passer coming out of high school 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He's way better than anybody Auburn's had since in the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Way better.
Well, that's an improvement because they've been missing big time. And those Auburn wide receivers, if you can get them the ball, they'll make things happen. They're pretty good. They're pretty damn good. Sure. I would expect Auburn to be more of a factor going forward in the next season. Thank you, Gator Art. I'm losing weight. Yes, sir, I am. 184.
I know a couple of the receivers that we were looking at in the portal. I know one of them signed with Iowa State, and another one signed somewhere else. So,
okay.
Chris from Cottondale says, I think we are focused on keeping players out of the portal instead of bringing some in from the portal. Tell JC I don't want to hear about Jack either. That's one that left, but we feel good about the other in that room. Also, Cal can't coach his way out of a wet paper bag.
He makes a lot of money doing something, doesn't he? But listen, I was just trying to get some reaction on the Pyburn story, and it obviously works. I was pretty successful at that. But whether he plays or not, I will not lose sleep here in Gainesville, Florida, if he's on the roster or not. But he was a pretty good player for the Gators. That's all.
He was solid. Art on the Titan Martech sign. Shane, how much money would we need to give someone to ask Billy why he won't go 4 wides? I don't know. I've been asking these media boys to ask it.
You mean you don't ask him as he gets off the bus on game day?
No, that's not probably the time to do that.
You sure about that? Hey, Bill, come over here.
Hey, Coach, I got something. I know you got a lot on your mind right now. Take your ear pods out. Why the hell don't you ever run 4 wides?
Is that in the barn, by the way? Do we have that in place in the playbook for this game? I think it's great that you're going to have Texas coming to Gainesville next year. Man, the road schedule looks really tough. But you got Texas and Tennessee coming to town and Mississippi State coming to town. And you get to take a trip to College Station next year. That's always interesting. Baton Rouge is always fun to go to. You get to go on that trip next year. You get to go to Oxford, Mississippi.
You know what the problem about that game is, JC?
Oh, don't tell me it's a noon game. It'll be
11. Well, here's why. If you look at when they release the SEC schedules, that weekend is a huge weekend in the conference.
Oh, okay.
It's like, I want to say Georgia and Alabama are playing, or either Georgia, Texas are playing. So that's going to be the night game.
Yeah.
And then there's another one where it's guaranteed going to be at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, and they love put Mississippi on the early games, man. For some reason, LSU gets all the night games and Mississippi gets all the morning games. That sucks, man.
Yeah. Lane's going to be raised hell about that.
Oh, yeah. And maybe he'll talk to the office. It's a long way from here. But I was just saying, College Station, Baton Rouge, Oxford, Mississippi, and even Lexington's a fun trip to take if you feel like it. It's a good road schedule for the Gators for fans. That's kind of my point there.
Yeah.
And then it's a great home schedule because you got Tennessee and Texas coming in, and then you get 2 games in November when the weather's nice and cool and hopefully like this. You get Texas coming in November, or is it Tennessee? I think it's Tennessee coming in November, and so that's exciting. Just to think about, even though it's a long, long, long time away, but it's exciting. And listen, when they win this Gasparilla Bowl by 24 points over Tulane, you're really gonna have a good feeling about how everything went, and the fact that these guys aren't opting out of this game and they want to play and they want to stay on the roster and do things the right way and beat up on Tulane. That's going to be a nice day. You're going to have fun down there in Tampa. Go down there and have fun. Harmonic Woods, the greatest tailgate of all time, is going to be on the corner of Hines Avenue and something there by the stadium. Please go by there if you feel like getting a feel good before you go into the game, because they'll make you feel good. And it's going to be a great time for folks in Tampa. The Gators have a big following in Tampa. I think it's going to be a really wonderful day. And enjoy it, man. And then after the Gator game, go post up and watch SMU, put it on, or rather watch Indiana, put it on Notre Dame.
You think that's going to happen?
No, I don't.
No. Rodney says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellow. Answer this, JC. He says, Shane, shouldn't the Ole Miss game be prime time as we make the playoffs next year?
Yeah. Hell yeah. I mean,
the problem is the other 4 teams that are playing in the conference that day.
Yeah.
Are definitely going to probably be in playoff contention.
Right.
I wish I had it in front of me, but pull it up. You'll see who it is. I'm surprised none of our great people that.
Well, they'll look it up after the show. I'm sure they just want to tune in on every word you have to say, QB. So, and then.
Russell says, Shane, did you see where one of Ole Miss's QBs is in the transfer portal after breaking up with Lane's daughter? I think it's Walker Howard. He's going back to Louisiana.
He broke up with Lane's daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, tragedy in Oxford. Oh, the poor kid's heart must be broken. How can he stick around Oxford thinking about her all damn day? He's got to go. He's got to transfer. Yeah.
I want to look up this real quick, this SEC football schedule. So I can, will you tell me when we're going to play?
Yeah. Look it up. All for it. So you're talking about the Ole Miss game?
I'm talking about, so that's, what's the date of that game, JC?
Shoot.
I don't even know how to look it up.
I will find. So I go to this thing called Google.
Yeah, but I know that, but it's for next year. But anyway,
2025 Florida.
We got to kick you off, JC. We got to get to basketball. We've been rambling all morning. Have a good day, JC.
Yeah,
we'll see you on Wednesday. That's JC joins us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. When we come back, we'll be joined by Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com to talk about this undefeated Gator basketball team that is just rolling. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Crime Prevention Security System, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Bishop's Pitmaster Barbecue, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Unleash the Inferno.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. For sprains, strains, and minor fractures, UF Health OrthoCare makes it convenient for you 7 days a week, including evenings. Walk-ins are welcome. Go check them out. That's UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. And this guy, he hangs out there all the time, getting x-rays and knee replacements. Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. How you doing, my man?
Good morning, Shane.
Yeah, so before we get into basketball, JC and I were discussing November 15th SEC football next year. The reason the Rebels and Gators will be playing at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Central Standard Time, I meant, is because Alabama LSU play that week and Texas Georgia play that week. So we will be
That's a hell of
we'll
a
be
game.
the first game for sure. Don't you agree with that, Chris?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I've seen 11 o'clock games before. I mean, that's not unusual when you travel to the other time zone from the East Coast. But,
Right, but I mean, I think people were excited going to Oxford that you're going to have an 11 a.m. kickoff. And
oh, I see what you're saying, because you get screwed out of a great tailgate experience in the Grove and all that stuff. So
correct.
I guess maybe they can bank on having a nice post game one, perhaps.
That's right. All right, Chris. Y'all head out today, I would assume, to Charlotte, North Carolina to face the Tar Heels. Can this team play any better than they're playing right now?
I mean, they got it going at both ends, and that's obviously the key. Last year, obviously, was a team that was great on offense and poor on defense. It's been what the coaching staff has talked about since giving up 102 points and a 2-point at the buzzer loss in the NCAA tournament. They rebuilt the roster with 3 transfers with defense in mind, and it's really all come together. I give a lot of credit. I think I did this when we talked a week ago or whatever. Elijah Martin is special. I mean, this is a guy who's played, like 140 some college games, has won 60 games the last 2 seasons, and knows what winning looks like. And it's just a catalyst when it comes to defense. He'll have his hands full up in Charlotte. We can talk about that in a minute with RJ Davis, but I think that's an opportunity he'll covet on the grand stage. He's been on the grand stage. It's not going to be anything new to him. But the buy-in overall, the chemistry. I mean, you got some really good players, Shane, who aren't playing a ton of minutes, and I'm around these guys all the time. Tommy Hawk's not complaining about anything. Ruben Chineo is not complaining. They all want to play more, but they see the product. And you can see the way they celebrate on the sidelines each other. Behind the scenes, you see how they like each other. And it's just they're in a really good place right now. Now, obviously, they haven't faced any adversity yet. That could come Tuesday in Charlotte. But for now, there's 5 undefeated teams in the country. Florida's one of them. They're ranked 7th. They're ranked 9th in the AP, but they're 7th in KenPom. They're also one of, I think only 6 teams in the country that are in the top 20 in both offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. And of course, all those, you're talking about the most elite teams in the country. Now, having said all this, they may be the 4th best team in the SEC. So we'll see how all that plays out. But right now, they know the formula of how they're supposed to play and what it will take for them to win, and they're playing to it. And that's a credit to the coaches.
Yeah, for sure. John's question on YouTube.
Is he going to ask about Ollie?
No Ollie. I'll make sure if anybody asks about Ollie, I don't even ask you. I don't want to get you upset. Chris, does Clayton remind you of Steph Curry?
I think he's more of the Jalen Brunson ilk.
Jalen Brunson.
In fact, during the offseason, Kevin Hubday, who's the offensive coordinator of this team, met with Billy Donovan, went over to Billy's beach house and met with him at his favorite coffee shop or whatever in St. Augustine. And he goes, I think this is who this guy is. And they started watching Nick stuff and seeing how Jalen Brunson played. And because Jalen Brunson isn't a pure point guard. Steph Curry, some would say he's just a shooter, but obviously he knows how to distribute the basketball or whatever. Walt's not this not a pure point guard, obviously, but I wouldn't say he's a selfish player. I say he's an elite offensive scorer and one of the best in college basketball. But if you want to make that comparison, I know some people have, and you can make that I guess for fun. I would put him as a poor man's Steph Curry, I think, but I think I would get him closer to Jalen Brunson on that comparison front.
Text here on the Titan Bar text line. Ask Chris if Hanlockton would be available in the tournament if they needed another big. He could be the key if we got into foul situations.
Hanlockton is cleared for full contact and for the first time yesterday. He will not play this season because the goal all along after last year, after he had the season-ending injury and the subsequent surgery and a very, very grueling rehab, was to redshirt this season. And we can sit here and lament how, man, we would be good if Hanlockton played, but just understand that was the pitch in building a team. So if Ruben Chenier or Alex or Sam Alexis thought Micah Hanlockton was going to play in January, they may not be here right now. So no, that's not going to be an option. But they do have the tallest scout team on the planet, probably, with Ollie and with Hanlockton getting the starting guys ready to play.
Yeah. I assume this is a basketball question on the Titan Mar text line. This is says, good morning, Shane. Reggie Virgil committed to Texas Tech out of the portal. He's the second kid from Mount Dora Christian Academy to go there in the last 3 years. Do you think there's a connection of some sort, or is that just coincidence? As a Mount Dora resident, it just seems really weird. I'm assuming Mount Dora Christian Academy is a basketball powerhouse. I've never heard of them in football. You're not sure either? Okay.
No.
Chris doesn't really follow recruiting either, so appreciate the text though. All right, so what can you tell us about Carolina? They still have the one
RJ Davis.
Yeah, he's still there. But they're not the Carolinas that everybody thinks of, right?
Well, I mean, you could say that and everything, but I mean, I think their losses are to Kansas, Auburn, Alabama, and Michigan State. So all like top 20 or top 25 Ken Palm teams. Now, again, those are losses. I think their best wins. They beat Georgia Tech. I don't think Georgia Tech is a great team. Off the top of my head, I forget who would be classified. Dayton, I think they beat down in Hawaii. But they stop and start with RJ Davis. I mean, this is a guy. I mean, he's got I think 2,300 career points. I think he's played 148 games. Now he's got like 30 games left in his career, so God only knows. I mean, he's done stuff there, put up numbers, and has All-America accolades, the like of which Bill Ford, Michael Jordan, and those kind of guys have done. Those are the kind of numbers he has. I think he's the 5th all-time scorer in school history. Scored 42 in a game against Miami last year. So they'll be looking if North Carolina wants to get off this 6-4 snide that they're on. What better way for them to do it in a building full of Tobacco Road Carolina fans in Charlotte against an undefeated Florida team on national television? So they have a lot to play for and a lot to be motivated for. And it's just kind of speaks to where Florida is right now when you think North Carolina will be looking at this game as a get-back game, kind of let people know that it's kind of an announcement statement kind of game for them. So for Florida, it's obvious you don't get blue blood shots very often. The last time Florida played Duke was 25 years ago. The last time they don't get cracks at UCLA. You get to play North Carolina. Florida played North Carolina last in the 2014 battle for Atlantis. It didn't go well at all. It was Billy Donovan's last season. They lost by 11, but I think they were down 12-0 right out of the box, and Billy Donovan was breaking grease boards in the locker room at halftime. So I think they were 1 for 15 from the 3-point line that game. So this is a really good opportunity for a really good team, and maybe the nation. I think I saw someone tweet, one of the college basketball experts or national guys say Florida may be the most unappreciated team in the country right now. Well, they get a chance to play in an event that a lot of people would be watching. What's interesting, one of the other undefeated teams, Oklahoma, which was picked, I think, 2nd or 3rd to last in the SEC.
Right.
they're 10-0 also, and they'll be in the obviously be in the Jordan or the Jumpman Invitational also, playing Michigan tomorrow night.
Yeah, Michigan. Because they go men's, women's, right?
No,
Didn't they do that last year?
they think they did it the first year.
Okay, it was first year.
I think they're going. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's yeah.
Okay.
It's men's first night, women's second night.
Chad's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Chris, do you think the number of minutes that Clayton plays will affect him by the end of the season? He plays a lot of minutes. Do you think Urban will allow him to play less minutes by the end of the year?
I mean, I think they want Walter on the court as much as they can. I mean, I don't know that his minutes will be that different from Elijah's, but I mean, he averaged, last year I think he averaged 33, 34 minutes a game, and in the last game of the season he scored 16 straight points and had a career high 33. So he wants to play. He wants the ball. I guess it's a valid question, but he's the one the coaches want him on the court as much as possible, and they have a rotation plan for him that keeps him in that 32 to 34 minute spectrum.
There are many car washes in Gainesville, but only one Gallo car wash, locally owned by UF alum, and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. With 3 locations, go check them out. Gallo Car Wash. All right, Chris, on the Titan More text line from Connie, his question is, in all the years you have been covering the Gators, where would you put Walter Clayton Jr.?
It's a weird question because where would I put him?
I guess he meant.
I mean, what does that mean? What does that?
I guess he's talking about as the best Gator players. I'm just filling in the blanks here for him.
I mean, I'll say in terms of talent and offensive ability, the 3 best players since I came back to cover the team starting in the 11-12 season. Obviously, Brad Beal was one of them. Kayvon Allen was definitely one of them, but he didn't have a killer mindset, killer mentality. He was a little soft, and he had like an NFL wide receiver body. If he had got convicted to use that, he would have. I think he'd be in the NBA. But Walter Clayton's right there now. I'm leaving out Chris Chioza and guys like that, but when you go back to the Mike Millers and I didn't mention anybody from the 06-07. I mean, it's just. Let's appreciate him for what he is right now. He's the Gators identified him. Todd Golden identified him early after that first season. What's stunning to me, think about this: he had no D1 offers from the state of Florida schools, and you have UCF an hour to the east, and you had USF an hour to. So he would have gone one of there for sure. He was also a COVID recruit, so people couldn't go in and see him. He had to try out on video, so that was kind of weird. And it took a Rick Pitino at Iona to get him up there, but the Gators should be thankful that it all worked out the way it was. And he was a 4-star safety recruit as a football player. So
yeah, he reminds me of one of those guys, like when you're watching the National Football League and a guy makes a play and you're like, where did he play college ball?
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those like Northeast Mississippi Junior College. They'll find you, and we found him. Probably, I mean, Rick Pitino finds good players around the country. So pretty good story, no question about it. Brian's question, Chris, who has been your surprise player on the team so far this year? Seems like lots of bright spots so far.
I can't say enough about and he's not that it's a surprise, but Elijah Martin is the X factor on this team. Because I just think he's changed a lot of the mentality about them, and this isn't just on the floor; it's off the floor. The guy talks all the time. When they huddle up after practice, he's got something to say a lot of the times, and that's not always easy when you parachute into a place that has Will Richard, this is his 3rd season here, and he's always been this kind of quiet leader on the team and very as respected a player in the locker room the last 2 seasons. You have Walter here already. You had Alex Condon here. You had Tommy Hawk here. But I can't emphasize enough. Elijah Martin won a lot of games and went to a Final Four. So, he had instant credibility when he came in, but it takes a certain guy to speak up. And I think maybe that traces to his Summit, Mississippi roots as a great quarterback. He I saw some highlights of him as a quarterback. Oh my gosh. They told him he was a 3-star quarterback recruit. And they told the recruiting service, just how screwed up this system is. They said, if you switch your classification to athlete, we'll move you up to 4-star status. Why can't you just be a 4-star? Wow. If you're good enough, why can't you be a 4-star? But he was the MVP of the Mississippi Alabama All-Star football game back in whenever his I think 2019 or something like that. So he would be one. And then another guy I have to give credit to, Will Richard, has incredibly improved his defense. And again, that goes on par with what this program has done. It became an emphasis. He went through the NBA early evaluation process. They said you need to be a better defensive player, and he's absolutely done that. And he's doing a much better job rebounding the basketball too. You saw this guy he used to be 230 pounds, if you can believe that, when he was a football player, when he was like in 9th grade or something like that. But he got up on that attacking slam dunk in the second half of that game and really got the bench going. So those are two guys I would say off the top of my head.
I totally forgot Martin was from Mississippi. J&J Trucking on the Titan. This is on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Chris, do you think we can make a run in the SEC? They don't really talk about us much, but here we sit.
It's okay.
A lot of hype for Kentucky and Tennessee. Actually, the hype's for probably more Tennessee, Auburn. But yeah, Kentucky's very good. But I wouldn't say we're flying under the radar. People know about the Gators.
No, that's true. But at the same time, I understand what you're saying. And you said Tennessee, Auburn. What about Alabama? Remember they were in the Final Four last year, and they got a bunch of dudes back. Yeah. And they haven't even Chris Bloodworth. They haven't got their guy. I don't know if he played the other day. He may be one of their best players when he gets back, transferred from USF. So, and we mentioned Oklahoma's, and there's 3 undefeated teams left in the country: Tennessee, Florida, and Alabama, and Tennessee, Florida, and Oklahoma. Excuse me. But I looked at Tennessee's schedule. They got a pretty easy schedule, a cakewalk into the SEC. The second game in the SEC schedule, Tennessee will be here for the SEC opener, and that could be a rare number 1 team coming into the O-Dome. And if Florida can manage, Florida has to open the SEC at Kentucky. That's going to be a really, really tough out. I don't know how that will work out, but we'll see. But it could be a chance that there's an outside chance to be 2 unbeaten teams in the second game of the season. If nothing worse, Florida could be a 1-loss team coming off a loss at Kentucky. I think they'll fare well up at Lexington. They won there last year, but that doesn't mean they'll win.
Dusty May, I forgot he was the coach at Michigan. I'm flipping through the channels the other night. Obviously, we know what a good job he did at FAU. But boy, he's got a squad there, man. And he brought in some transfer portal dudes that can play.
He brought in Vlad Golden. He brought in there was a kid from
Yale.
The Village is here down the road, who played at Alabama last year, that killed the Gators up in Tuscaloosa. He got him to transfer to Michigan. And there's a couple other guys. You're right?
Yeah, they got a big dude from Yale that can handle the ball.
Yeah. He had 9 assists. He can put it down and he can put it down and do stuff with the basketball. Yeah, absolutely. He was a good player. Who were they on TV against the other night?
I don't remember, but it was Arkansas. They played Arkansas. Yeah, I think they lost, but I was like, man, he's got a good squad. Any surprise to you at the success that he's having?
No, Dusty May's a really, really good coach. And he was basically Mike White's chief lieutenant when he was here, and he was the first one to get that chance. And what he did at Florida Atlantic was incredible, obviously. And they did it a second year. They won 35 games that one year, and they did the second year with all the expectations. People calling him up and scheduling some really, really hard games. So he deserved that. I'm just glad. There was some thought for a long time that he was going to go to Florida State, and that would have been tough to see him walk in the Florida State sidelines, I think.
Yeah. All right. Last thing for you, we get you out of here from Andy on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. Chris, the Redskins have the Falcons, Eagles, and Cowboys left on their schedule. Can they win 2 of those to make the playoffs?
That game yesterday was Jaden Daniels. Obviously, I love the guy, but man, you gotta make connections on wide open passes down long passes, and he missed 3 of them yesterday that would have been easy walk-in touchdowns, like 50, 60, 70-yard touchdowns. Got to capitalize on those. 9 penalties too many. They got a chance, but they got a lot of flaws and they got a lot of injuries right now, and they've kind of obviously cooled off since that hot start at the beginning. But I don't know if they can get healthy because some of these guys are hurt pretty bad. But I just like playing games that matter in December. It is the best record. They haven't been 9-5 since 1992 when you were a senior. Okay,
That's crazy.
You're a senior in college, right?
Yeah. Wow. All right, Chris. I don't have the schedule in front of me. We play North Carolina tomorrow night. When's the next game? It's a while.
It's
right? The Christmas
Saturday at noon against North Florida. North Florida.
Oh, they can score now.
They've beaten South Carolina and Georgia Tech. Okay, already this season, and I think they have a couple losses there. You go, God, they beat them but lose them, and then they have a week off and they'll play Stetson before opening the season, the SEC season at Kentucky. Those first 3 SEC games at Kentucky, home against Tennessee, at Arkansas. So
it's going to be like that every week, though.
Right? Yeah. It has our attention for sure. I mean, the metrics that put the SEC, they're like 3 and 4 points ahead of the Big 12 or the Big 10 right now. It's just an incredible basketball league right now, which is amazing because I can think back to 10 years ago, even 7 or 8 years ago, when they got 3 teams in the NCAA tournament. Now they're talking about 12. If you can believe that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Chris, good stuff as always. Safe travels. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you and your family. And we'll get you back on when we start playing some real basketball and conference play.
All right. Merry Christmas to you, Shane. Thank you.
That's Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. Join us on the Titan Hotline. Hope everybody enjoyed today's program. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.